What's going on, everybody? It's Steve. We're here with the grand finals. We're playing Electric, champion of the other conference. Big congratulations to Electric, first VBL title. This is, other than my team, probably the biggest numbers that exist in the league, so it makes sense that they've made it this far. Just a lot of good, fully evolved Mons, and then Piloswine, who used to be one. I think Skarmory, Raichu, and Skuntank, if Electric is playing this seriously, are definitely going to come. And then they could literally bring whatever they want outside of that. Could be a Rain mode, could be a Sun mode, could be Damp Swampert, could be Intimidate Quillfish, could be a Banded Barraskewda, could be a Chlorophyll Executor, or a Trick Room Executor, could be EVLI Piloswine with Rest and Sleep Talk. This is a tough matchup because they could bring literally everything, and this ground weakness doesn't matter when you have 3 grass types and 3 water types and an ice type. Ground types are not good to bring. Likewise, the flying weakness, you have Raichu and you have Piloswine to take out flying types. Ghost and Dark are a little bit better, but yeah, this is a well-constructed team, even though it was done somewhat randomly. What am I not bringing? Sandaconda. As we talked about, it's a good offensive week for ground moves, but I am forced to Terra against so many of those Mons. I thought about bringing Coil, Glare, Scarf set, a Banded set. Ended up not bringing any of those. For Alligator is bad defensively. Once again, it needs to Terra against half the team. But a Terra Dark Dragon Dance set with Crunch is quite good with Life Orb, because there's 1 Dark Resist, and I can just hit it with Liquidation. Noctowl, great week for Tinted Lens offense. With a Life Orb, it can Oko Skarmory, max HP Skarmory with Hyper Beam. But, once again, I just get blown up by so many Mons on this team. Fortress, really good defensive typing against everything except for Ninetales. It just wasn't doing much damage. I considered an Explosion set again, but it's got Damp Swampert. Veluza, final game it does take out half of the Mons, but Psychic and Water are both not great offensively this week, or defensively, as we talked about for Alligator. So here's the lineup. The classic 4 that we've got here. Hariyama and Dusknoir would be the designated lead. There's 1 Ghost Resist, so Poltergeist and Shadow Sneak should go pretty well. The bulk on Dusknoir should live any Raichu, Barraskewda double up, particularly if one of them is Covert Cloak to dodge a Fake Out. Specifically, it's to live Terra Electric Choice Specs Electro Ball from Alolan Raichu, which I believe Sly brought. Goggles for Sleep. As you see down at the bottom, there's only 3 Mons that no taunt, so Roar is more likely. If Roar comes, none of these Roar Mons other than Ninetales want to be Will-O-Wisped. So I can Poltergeist Will-O-Wisp, but I will Poltergeist Ninetales, Will-O-Wisp the rest of them. Executor here is a setup set, which I did bring one week, I just never clicked Calm Mind. I just ideally need 1 Calm Mind here to get going. I live in Ice Fang from Life Orb Barraskewda, and I have that Dark Terror there for Piloswine, random ice moves, and Skuntank. This is a classic Hariyama. Lives a Choice Specs Modest Psychic from Raichu. Heavy Slam just for Fairy Terras also gives me more damage into Piloswine. And it is faster than No Speed Piloswine. Nothing really important changes from Close Combat to Drain Punch, so I'm going Drain Punch for the longevity. And Terra Bug Colossal. Only really hit hard by Skarmory. Obviously, there's a lot of neutral moves into it, water particularly. Flash Fire gets rid of the fire weakness. And then I get off Meteor Beam, and then I'm just spamming Flamethrower or Earth Power. There's only 1 rock resist, so Meteor Beam could very well get an Oko, but after that, Flamethrower, Earth Power have perfect coverage. And the order here is Dusknoir, Colossal, Executor in terms of speed. The other 2, I'm actually bringing Cryogonal. This threatens Anger Point, but it's actually just Freeze Dry spam, because Freeze Dry hits basically the entire team, other than Ninetales and Piloswine. Electric Terror Blast is for Skarmory, and Reflect is to be useful after it goes down in 2 hits. I thought about bringing Snowscape, but Pile of Swine with EV-Elite and a defense boost is crazy. Tauros is EV'd to live a Timid Specs Terra Electric Thunderbolt, outspeed Modest Raichu and Timid Ninetales. So it doesn't matter if I die to Modest Raichu because I'll be going first. I'll at least get that Bulldoze off, Bulldoze Protect, and then I just spam Body Slam and Freeze Dry. I got Cloak for the Fake Outs, Ludicolo and Raichu, or Icy Wind or Electro Web from Barraskewda or Raichu. And Fire Blast for Skarmory. If it brings Ninetales, that's a 2-hit KO in the sun, plus I get that burn chance. I can bring either Trick Room in the back with Kohler Dusknoir or Hariyama to cycle and Fake Out and Intimidate, which if I get some Paralysis luck, or 2 Bulldozes off, Hariyama will be faster than most of the team. And then with Intimidate and Fake Out, I could also bring my Executor. So, that is the team. Good luck to Electric. Congrats on the season. Alrighty, challenge has been sent to Electric. Indeed, reasonable. I lied. I told him it was maybe Noctowl. Yes. Okay, what about these Terras? Terra Psychic, 2 Terra Ghosts, Terra Dark on Skuntank, Terra Poison. There's a lot of offensive Terras, and the Fire on Skarm to get rid of the Will-O-Wisp. That makes sense. Well, let's see what you're packing. We got Eggy and Raichu. Psychic Seed, Focus Sash. Okay. Well, you're going Psychic Terrain. If you go... So how do I want to do this? I know you can't be slower, so I can Fake Out there. Trick Room, right? Executor is Terra Psychic. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Isn't that something? Yeah, I think this is fine. Right, I can Trick Room, Fake Out. And then switch out Dusknoir. Trick Room, Fake Out, switch out Dusknoir because I won't be able to use an item in Psychic Terrain, or I won't be able to use Poltergeist onto you, and I won't be able to use Shadow Sneak onto you. If you Terra Ghost, is that a problem? Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Oh, you have the Psychic Terrain. Interesting. Cool. I do have my Terra Dark, and you are Terra Psychic, so I think I go for Terra Dark here. It seems pretty good. This is probably just Expanding Force spam. Psychic Terrain, Expanding Force, a Grass move probably. I do indeed hit that. That's big damage. There's a Sleep Powder and Expanding Force on that side. Okay. I'll just go Will-O-Wisp, take that out. What was the order there? Poltergeist, knockoff. Okay, so you have quite a deal of speed on there. This is fine. Dusknoir is going down, but so is Raichu. And then I have my Colossal. Indeed. I could go Flamethrower here. Right, you are Terra Ghost. You're not Sash. Yeah, I think I just want a Flamethrower and knock off. Just see as many items as I can. I want to save Meteor Beam for a possible Terrifier Skarmory. There is second turn of sleep. Scorching Sands. Okay. Oh, it's Skuntank. Interesting. Well, I'm going to keep going for... Let's see if I can actually get off any of this. Nice. This should be dead. Beautiful. And Gunk Shot. Poison Jab. I live. No poison. I get Harvest. I heal again. And... You were Choice Specs. Okay. You already terrored, so... Yeah, this is fine, I think. Drain Punch, let's keep Drain Punching. Whoa, that's some damage. Need a crit. No crit. GG. That's a good build, though. A very spooky build. Specs on the Ninetales. Terra Dark Hariyama really went off there. I do lose if I take a 3-turn sleep there. That's for sure. That Psychic Terrain is kind of a problem. I kind of want to run... I need to bring Cryogonal at least one game, right? And then I'm going to bring Trick Room in the back. Yeah. The Calm Mind Egg did not do anything. I feel like that's Choice Band on the Skuntank. Because that did a lot of damage. I am like max defense. So we saw Specs, Psychic Seed, we saw Focus Sash, what I assume is a Choice Band on the Skuntank. Scorching Sands, Specs, Scorching Sands, eh? I do want to bring these guys. Yeah, we'll go with that. Raichu, Quillfish. Is it Intimidate? It is Intimidate, but this is okay. I'm going to Protect and Bulldoze. And that's going to do big damage. And give me the speed control. Provided... neither of them are clear aim. I know you're Sash. You're not Swift Swim. You could be Covert Cloak, I suppose. And you're not spec, so this is going to do like nothing. This could be acupressure. Electric brought acupressure last week. What are the Terras, actually? It's poison. Terra poison on the Quillfish. That's fine, then Bulldoze is doing quite a lot of damage. And you had Fake Out and Expanding Force, that makes sense. Let's see what we got. Just a Psychic Terrain right off the bat. We got some Chip. It is Covert Cloak, fascinating. And just Liquidation. Kind of want to get off a Reflect first. Just Reflect into Bulldoze again. No, you're intimidated. Freeze Dry is always the play here. Freeze Dry Bulldoze. Yeah. And Volt Switch coming out. Nope, just expanding. Okay. And there's that guy. So I know I'm faster than you. Kind of want to protect and just get a body slam off. Onto that Ninetales. And maybe get a para. No para, just a Heat Wave. Okay, but you're locked into that now. So I do have a free switch here. And I can get a Freeze Dry. And I don't want to Terra you yet. Let's go for a Meteor Beam onto the free slot. I assume Freeze Dry will take out this Raichu. It's not very bulky. Okay. Nice. Let's see if Meteor Beam hits. I have not missed one. I have missed one. Okay. Let's get a Reflect off now. Terrabug. You have to lock into something you don't want to lock into right now, so I'm going to Earth Power. Beautiful. Yep, there's the lock-in you didn't want, and Earth Power nearly gets the KO. So let's get the Freeze Dry and another Earth Power. Beautiful. And I believe we're going to be doing a voice chat. So Cryogonal is apparently quite busted as we win the season, losing 2 total games, which I don't believe has ever happened. I'm going to do a little bit of a post-game voice chat with Electric. Game 1 was definitely.
I nearly won game 1. Like I was like a crit off of a win. So
or another sleep.
Frankly, think it's a serious sign that you should have been slightly luckier with those sleep rolls.
Yeah, that's what I said. If I slept one more turn, I lose.
I mean, your team is just absurdly better than mine, and I think you're just also a much better player.
I don't know about that part. I do think my team is by far the best team in the league.
I don't know if I would go quite that far, because of course there's variance associated with your
build.
Yeah. Like my Ninetales lead, I think was pretty good into your other one, but I didn't really feel like leading the Ninetales lead, so I didn't do it. I don't know what I thought Quillfish was doing. I didn't expect that Freeze Dry to get a knockout, but I.
Oh really? Did you have any bulk? You were max speed, I think.
Yeah, I had a very powerful negative Fizz Def. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't give you my taste yet.
No, I was just getting mine too.
I pulled it up and copied it, and then didn't realize that I actually had to send it to you for that to fully go through.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I did run knockoff so I could sleep powder the dust noir, but I didn't want to click it, so I didn't.
that's pretty cool. I have brought safety goggles on Dust Noir like 5 times.
Yeah. Like you led fake out with it, so I couldn't beat it like that. The Terra, bringing multiple Terra Darks, which I didn't expect. I wonder, was that influenced by me talking specifically to you about the fact that I use Psychic Spam?
No, I had
Okay,
Terra Dark Hariyama from the get-go, and it was
so I'm just bad at Pokemon. I think is the main takeaway then.
it was poison on the Executor, and then I thought I would have way too much of a Piloswine problem, so I changed that away from a ground weakness.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you're particularly weak to power. So you were thick fat. I was worried I might accidentally poison and then give you a guts boost. I was pretty sure you'd be thick fat, but I hadn't like
Yeah,
actually calculated anything. But yeah, I think when I saw the two Terra Darks at Team Preview, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna lose the set. Um, and I was right. So
the game one was the I was expecting um, Psychic Terrain out of the Raichu, and then you hit me with the
you
fake
could
out
fake out
Psychic Terrain.
me then. Both of them ran Psychic Terrain, of course.
Yeah,
Um, no, I like if you didn't have fake out, or if I had done the less greedy line of running cloak on Eggy. Um, no, you would just fake out because you had Frisk. Like Frisk is just, I think, an unhealthy ability in terms of draft. Like
it's busted.
you just don't have to play Pokemon really at lead.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, certainly I didn't have any ability to beat you after you frisked Psychic Seed at lead. I found like that was, you know, was always going to happen, but I didn't have any build that didn't. Like I don't think I had a build that won into the team that you brought. My team is just really bad. Like it has a lot of pretty exploitable flaws, and it relies on doing stuff like the attempted psychic spam in this set
it's
to get game wins. Obviously, having run any attack that could hit, like I think Helping Hand wound up being a bad brain. Though Helping Hand was, I think it killed a col. Sorry, not a col. What's the mon called? I need your help on this one.
Colossal
It killed a Dusknoir
Dusknoir.
through
Okay.
through uh, the utility umbrella.
Oh, okay. I did have
That's why I ran Fire Blast.
Yeah, I did have a lot of special bulk on that.
Yes, it was for Max specifically.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, it couldn't beat it through a Terra, but I
Yeah,
could get it through Umbrella, which is a like it reduces damage by a third instead of obviously Terra does it by half.
yeah. The bulk there is to live Terra Electric Choice Specs Modest Electro Ball.
Yeah, I don't. I've never run Electro Ball. I think I ran it on an Irredia Lucky once, and then it didn't do enough damage, and then I have never run it again.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sly ran it against me, I believe, with Soak.
yeah, Soak is not a move that I tend to bring. Not that I think any of my ward types have it, just like none of them have Wave Crash. It's not a move that I tend to bring.
This is really bad in a Terra format because you can just use
Yeah,
Terra.
yeah. The fact that it loses to Terra, I mean, it makes sense. Like I get that Terra's pushed. I wouldn't be shocked if Terra is in next gen, but Soak beats Terra. Like, or it's like whichever one you've done recently. Like if you soak a Pokemon after it's Terra, it works. Because obviously, I wouldn't be shocked if they made Terra slightly less strong, right?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I feel like my team is really bad into Trick Room, and
yep.
my team is also just generally not particularly consistent at taking hits. Like I was hoping that you would protect last on Dusknoir so that it wouldn't be able to so it wouldn't be able to hit Raichu in Psychic Terrain. But obviously you did wind up having Wisp. Not that I hated Raichu dying on that particular turn because it did mean I had the ability to bring a Pokemon in. But like, it's not like I had really consistent answers to Colossal on my team. Um,
Yeah,
and
the
I just
Scorching
couldn't bring
Sands, I
Scum. Like it was
totally.
just a bluff at team preview because it's just so bad into the bonds you have.
So what was the secret tech you were telling me about? Was it the Psychic Terrain Expanding Force?
Yeah, I mean that's
Oh,
fun.
okay.
Um,
I was looking
I wanted to bring
through
it in other weeks, and I just couldn't because it's bad, as we saw in this set.
I was looking through your team and I was like, what could this possibly be? And I thought,
Well,
okay, they're gonna
I did also
bring.
have the knockoff with sleep powder was the other thing that I thought about because I previously looked at like that being a cool combo, meaning I could psychic terrain or I could knock off sleep powder a Goggles one.
Yes, that is very cool. Um, I thought it could be Terra Ghost Skarmory, weak armor, weakness policy, next to a Sucker Punch Skuntank.
Yeah, I
And that
looked
just
at the
doesn't do the
calcs for a
damage.
Swords Dance Skarmory, which is obviously the same damage, and it's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh,
Skarmory does not have a high attack stat.
I don't actually need any more bulk on Dusknoir to live that Brave Bird.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't watch anything. Brave Bird is a cool move, but 80 is not a very high number.
No.
And as much as there is like diminishing returns on having an increased attack stat, like Kartana is real, not that much stronger than Heracross. Um, Heracross is a lot stronger than Skarmory.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of around 115 where it starts trailing off the amount of benefit that you get compared to the amount of having a higher base power stab move or having a boosting item or a boosting ability. Just because EV investment diminishes the amount of impact. Yeah, I have looked at weak armor Skarmory in a few matchups. Obviously, it seems particularly bad into Trick Room.
Yeah.
Like, I think I bring that and I still just lose. It's not like you couldn't fake out. Like, I'd have to run a Cloak Skuntank next to a Skarmory, and then that Skarmory would need to crit Dusknoir, you know?
Yeah, and my thinking was I just Shadow Sneak it twice anyway, and it goes down because of the defense drop.
Mm. Presumably, like, I mean, you wouldn't even really. Yeah, I guess Sneak does have that limit on it. Like Poltergeist has that limit on it, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine running moves with actual balancing decisions related to it?
Yeah, I mean, hey, this Psychic
Oh,
Terrain really neutered Dusknoir,
yeah.
particularly with.
Like the fact that I could consume a Psychic Seed, but even after I had no item, knockoff still did a ridiculous amount of damage
Oh,
on that
yeah.
Hariyama. So
Yeah, it did.
just doesn't matter. Like you you having a Pokemon that does nothing the entire game outside of set Trick Room still meant that you won. So
Yeah,
but
maybe that
didn't really matter. Like that's I could not imagine my team being like that at all.
the spread damage might have hurt you there if you just were able to keep Dusknoir on the field.
Um, Expanding Force does more damage even with the spread reduction with Psychic Trade than it does as a single target move.
No, I mean like using a different move and targeting Hariyama so that Dusknoir is stuck on the field doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't run anything. I hit Hariyama. I had knockoff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like I feel like I need to drop. Like I should be. After coming through this game, in my prep I did not predict you to run Dark, Terra Dark Hariyama. I did talk to a couple people, and I was like, "Does Steve run any Terra Dark?" And I think 2 people said no, which makes me one of the 3 people who are like, "Yeah, I don't think that there's Terra Dark." But the Hariyama being Terra Dark was obviously incredibly bad for my strategy, which I still think is probably the only strategy I could bring which had any chance of actually winning a set.
I've definitely run it this season. Terra Dark Hariyama.
Yeah. I think Terra Dark, obviously, part of the concern would be like the Scarm set that I did bring, obviously, is good into Terra Dark.
Yeah. Yeah, my thinking there
And
is I have Colossal. I should be able
I mean,
to take
Skarmory
that out.
just isn't a particularly great Pokemon. Like
Yeah.
every week that I didn't bring it, I felt correct not bringing it. I probably shouldn't have brought it to this set, but I don't really have great options. I think all my Pokemon are fine, but none of them are amazing. Like the rain option was like the Terra Dragon is obviously particularly annoying for a team that's trying to base around both rain and sun because it covers both of them, and Terra Water also does, but sort of slightly less because of the 3 grass types.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Power Herb Meteor Beam I dodged, and I still just had no out that game.
That's actually the first Meteor Beam I've missed all season.
I mean, it's not even really part of the season. This is just for fun.
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
but
season's over.
I've just been commenting on how very fortunate I've been to have hit most of my moves all season. And, obviously flinch a whole lot of times.
Well, I think that was one set in particular. I don't remember any of your other sets being quite so dominated as that one was.
No, no. But thankfully,
Anyways,
that happened.
I was right. You only lost 2 games all season. We'll pretend that I was throwing, and not that I'm just bad.
Hey, you got me to bring that cryogonal, and it did a lot of work.
Yeah, I really didn't expect to go down to the freeze dry. I don't know why I didn't expect to go down to the freeze dry. I hadn't like helped it or anything, but you know, Raichu's got okay Fizdef, and it wasn't taking anything from the bulldoze, even though like, okay, the Taurus was cloak. I figured the Taurus was cloak.
Actually, it looks like you shouldn't have gone down to the freeze dry. What the heck?
Do you have the Spatak
Oh, never
investment
mind.
listed?
You had 45%. I thought you had 50 something.
Yeah, yeah. I very briefly looked at the side of my screen. It's like, oh yes, if they have zero Spatak, then there's 40%. And
Looks like it was
I
a
don't
roll.
know.
It does 41 to 49.
Yeah. Yeah, like the fact that like your Terra Electric, so I couldn't even use Nuzzle in the set because obviously you also had Cloak, which I figured. I previously brought manual T-Wave on Raichu with the idea being it facilitates Ninetales as speed control because it covers Cloak and Clear Amulet.
That's pretty cool.
But I didn't bring it in the set, obviously. I obviously didn't even lead Ninetales. I don't know why I like Quillfish. Quillfish is really bad in this set.
What was the idea? Just getting the Intimidate off and a taunt?
Yeah, I think that was literally the entire thought process. It wasn't a particularly developed thought process, I don't think. But you know, I was relatively checked out.
No, Cloak,
I
yeah.
didn't think I had much odds on winning the set. Like I said, I think a Ninetales Eggy lead could have done okay into your set, but like, it didn't really have anything for just you having good Pokemon, which unfortunately you do.
Yeah, I think had I had the Dust Noir Hariyama lead against that, I would probably have just Terra Dragoned right off rip.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's incredibly unsurprising. Yeah, I think if I did have, I mentioned this to you, but despite having 3 poison types, there are no Pokemon in Gen 9 that learn Corrosive Gas,
Yep.
and I only have 1 Pokemon with Metronome, which is the only way you can use Corrosive Gas in current Gen. Unfortunately, I don't think Ludicolo was a sufficiently good enough lead for me to risk clicking Metronome and then hitting Poison Gas, and then sleep powdering the Dust Noir at lead, which was probably my
couldn't
that was my win condition. Fake
couldn't
Out is just a very good move, and Frisk is just absolutely ridiculous.
Frisk is busted.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think if you had that same lead, but you didn't know what my items were, then you didn't have anywhere near as safe of a Fake Out, right?
Yeah, true. Like you could have been doing like Trick Room, Imprison, and then go like Psychic Seed and
I did
as I
used to have Trick
Poltergeist.
Room Prison over Sleep Powder. Probably would have been better because I
Yeah,
could always Psychic Train the following turn, but I was still losing because you had the Terra Dark.
that's a good, especially when you don't have a fighting type. I think you're the only team without a fighting type. Nobody
I
has a fairy
haven't
type.
done a census check. Does Jace have a fighting type? I did just play Jace, so that's the most recent thing. It seems unlikely I'm the only team without a fighting type, but I also do have a fighting type. It's Skarmory.
Right. Yes. Jace.
Gosh, Conkeldurr was legal. That's crazy.
Jace had Scraggy.
Wow, dude. Okay, Jace has a Lucario, which I forgot was a fighting type.
Oh yeah, me too. I just went right past the Lucario. There's a Heracross.
It looks like Poppin doesn't. Oh no, Ember. There's like a combination of good fighting types, like Conkeldurr. What was the other one? Yeah, Gallade or whatever. And then there's also, you know, sometimes like Ember, Sneasel, Hissway, Lucario.
Oh,
Looks like Jordan doesn't have a fighting
Jordan
type,
does not have a
but
fighting
obviously
type.
has Duskrock, which is a fighting type the same way that Skarmory is.
Yeah. Then we got a
Good old
Chestnut.
Chestnut.
Harry. Blaziken. Metacham. Hitmontop. I just remember looking at the board and thinking, oh my
There's the
god,
Hitmontop. I was struggling to find Ferret's fighting type.
there's just so many fighting types on this board.
Not any of them are free. Well, there probably is like Jangor, but you know, sometimes you don't need the NFE. What is the highest free fighting type? Gerda in 3 points. Does all the people in your div also have it? Dude, what's all these topics?
Yep, ours is Girder and Phalanx and Combuskin, all in 3 points.
No,
Oh no,
we
Passimian.
drafted several of those.
Passimian at 7 points.
Oh, your Passimian's free. Our Passimian was certainly not free. I think we've gone a little bit off the rails.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a set that was really a particularly strong or interesting amount of commentary for. You have a really good team. I don't really have much outside of like turning one of your Pokemon into a Pokemon that doesn't exist, and then Hariyama not being Terra Dark. I think even if you were Terra Steel, like that was a win because you did take a lot of damage. Like any typing that even if it was a resist that didn't make you immune to it
Yeah.
was fine. But Terra Dark, Psychic is probably the bottom two types in Pokemon in terms of VGC at the very least. It's really bad. It's so much worse than Fairy, and it's so much worse than Ghost.
That is true.
I don't know if there are other types. Like I would say it's probably worse than Poison. What other bad types is worse than Grass?
Bug would be the only other
Well,
one.
Bug is I think the 18th.
Yeah.
I think Bug is close to being better than Psychic, but that's mostly just because U-turn is good. And Psychic Noise is fine.
Yes,
But I
that
couldn't
is a
even
cool
affect
move.
your Hariyama with Psychic Noise, even though, it would turn off Drain Punch.
Bug's in this weird case where it is occasionally a good Terra, but
Yeah,
otherwise
I mean,
it's
Bug
like,
has a bunch of resistances, and some of those types it resists are good.
yeah. And
Yeah,
anything
Psychic, I
with
think, is very possibly just the worst type that, like, I think it's the worst Terra type by a pretty wide margin. It's only okay on Pokemon that are using Psychic type moves.
yeah, I
And need a
ran it
damage
on
boost from them.
Hariyama 1 week with Terra Psychic Zen Headbutt. I think that was against a Gallade. Was that against Ray? I didn't click it, but
Yeah.
it was there.
So, yeah, it was there because it has some defensive utility as well as it gives you better flexibility than running, say, a Terra Flying Fly, a Terra Blast, or what have you.
Yeah.
Because you can use the Zen even when you're not Terran. So it's like slightly less committal than, but only because a bunch of Pokemon have Zen and a bunch of Pokemon have Psychic. But it's a pretty bad type.
Yeah.
Um, but in the lower tier format where there are less opposing Psychics and Steels and Darks, then it's fine. It's not good.
And where there's lots of
Um,
fighting types, in theory.
yeah, I mean, you had one.
I mean, it does hit this entire team for neutral, other than the Dark Terra.
Yeah, your team is particularly weak to it. Not the only team that's been particularly weak to it, but it's not like that made it good,
Yeah.
as we saw.
Yeah.
It barely beat down your like only somewhat specially defensive Dusknoir. Because I'm pretty sure Relaxed is the defense boosting nature.
Yeah. There was a calc for that.
Imagine.
Was it Choice Band something on Barraskewda? I don't remember what it was for.
I thought you said it was for Skarmory.
No, that just happened to be like max
Oh, it
HP.
was already
Dusknoir
covered
lives
by
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Like Barraskewda does not seem very good here.
Might have
You
been
know.
Life Orb Crunch. Yeah, I handily live a Life Orb Crunch from Skuntank.
Well, I did run Bandit Crunch.
Maybe that's what it was. Let me check.
I ran Bandit Knockoff because that's stronger than Crunch as well.
Yes, I live the Crunch. I do not live the knockoff.
Yeah. But you could Terra and then you live anyways. So
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to pretend that Skuntank was a contributing member of the team, which
I like
it had
Skuntank.
like very little value throughout the season. But
Oh,
I think
Temper
it came to
Flare.
like 7 games. It was okay in some of them.
I just noticed Temper Flare. That's such a cool move.
Oh, was that sorry? Oh, Temper Flare. Yeah. I don't remember what Temper Flare was for, frankly. I think it was just a move that was boosted by Sun, and I had no other move I wanted to run. Like I didn't want to lock Gunk.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gunk would have been better in game one because it would have knocked your Eggy out. It wasn't. It would have given me an extra attack into Executor. Sorry, into Hariyama.
Yeah, I hadn't clocked that you would have been Choice Band yet, of course, so I was predicting a Protect there with the Combine turn.
Yeah, I think that was pretty reasonable. Yeah, the knockoff is a good move. Obviously, my Terra Ghost did not wind up being a good play. Um, I think I was playing around you waking up and clicking Headlong Rush.
Oh, okay.
No, I was playing around taking a move from Colossal, but you obviously targeted the Executor instead.
Yeah, I figured because I have Thick Fat and Terra Dark that the Ninetales was not a problem for Hariyama.
Oh, I could have gotten the Scorching Sands burn. You don't know.
That's true. I didn't know you had Scorching Sands.
Well, I feel like I had to bring Scorching Sands against Colossal.
Yeah, honestly, I forgot it. Had it.
It is like the only coverage that I remember this Pokemon having used it the entire season. I think I ran like Psychic. I run Snarl,
You ran
but
Psyshock
like
one time.
I don't think I've ever clicked a non-fire move outside of this set. Maybe once. I might have clicked a Grass move once, but I've basically just been clicking fire moves, which is mostly a testament to Ninetales being bad, not Ninetales being good.
Yeah, I'm not a big
needing
fan.
a 2.25x boost plus specs makes that what? I'm not a mathematician. 2.25 times 1.5. Needing to do 3.4x damage to be able to do meaningful damage is not great. But
Yeah,
Ninetales is funny.
I mean, it sets up the sun. It's always going to be useful.
Yeah, I mean, totally. The sun was definitely useful. You're more useful to me than you if you ignore the fact that I don't think I took advantage of it once the entire set, and you obviously
I
got a
got
harvest
Harvest.
proc off it.
Which also didn't matter. I think all of my Harvest procs this season actually haven't contributed to anything.
I know my harvest proc has been okay, but
Yeah,
I would have to do maths on it.
I think they've always been either Executor wins the next turn anyway, uh, or it just dies the next turn anyway.
Yeah, I think that what we mostly saw out of this season is that offensive builds are just better. Trick Room, an incredibly aggressive build that you piloted pretty effectively. I just piloted a bunch of Pokemon with offensive moves and occasionally boosts from like Rain or Sun or Terra.
Yeah,
And that's really the entire build that I had the entire season was just do damage. And like you occasionally ran like the hyper aggressive, hyper offensive things, like in our last game with that bulldoze spam, or with like Surf with Colossal.
yep,
But that was really about it. Everything was just damage, damage, damage.
yeah. And I think particularly Dust Noir in a low power format with Frisk, the ability to set Trick Room and then do a ton of damage with Poltergeist is
Yeah.
just like really powerful.
Oh, I know why I like Quillfish. I had taught.
Yeah,
I think that was my entire thought process.
yeah. You clocked that I had goggles, probably.
Um, yeah, I was pretty sure you had goggles when you were Terra Dragon at Team Preview. Oh yeah, I think sorry, something that we didn't talk on that I like to talk on. I haven't gone through this season game by game as I do in some seasons, but generally I think Team Preview tells you a lot about what your opponent sets are just from Terra Preview. It is like it's a balancing thing, but it really tells you so much information about what your opponent is bringing. For example, when you had two Terra Darks, I knew that I lost, and when you had Terra Bug, I knew that Colossal was Flash Fire.
Flashfire, yeah.
And I figured because you had Terra Dragon that the goggles was on um, Dusknoir. I was pretty sure that the Tauros had a defensive item. I wasn't 100% sure whether Cryogonal or Tauros, which one of them had Sash and which one of them had Cloak.
Yeah,
Theoretically, the Taurus could have had Clear Amulet as well, because I have seen people like spamming Trailblaze against me, and I know that the other Tauruses get Trailblaze, so I assume that
it does.
the Paldean Taurus.
And I
Okay,
had it
sorry.
for a bit, and then I replaced it with Fire Blast because I wanted more coverage for Skarmory. And if you set up the
Yeah,
sun, it's
it's
actually
completely
a
fair.
two-hit KO.
But yeah, so like I think it could have been Clear Amulet, but I was pretty sure that it was going to be Cloak, and that Crodonal was probably Sash when you were Terra Electric, because that meant that you were going Bolt Beam.
Yes, yes, I was.
Yeah, like
And
it's the 1930s or something.
I absolutely hate Clear Amulet. I do not like that as an item at all.
It's just a choice band that doesn't lock you into moves.
Sure, but what if the opponent doesn't run any stat-lowering moves?
Okay, I mean, what if you clicked an attack with a choice band and it would have KO'd whether you had the choice band or not? What if you don't
Yeah,
activate your citrus berry?
I'm just saying, a lot of the time you bring it and it doesn't do anything. I brought it
So
one time.
if we look at this set, right, we've discussed the fact that your citrus berry didn't meaningfully contribute to the game.
Yep,
Your assault vest did not meaningfully contribute to the game. Your
yep,
cover cloak did not meaningfully contribute to the game. Your focus sash did not meaningfully contribute to the game. Your power herb did meaningfully contribute to the game, but unfortunately you missed.
yeah.
So every single one of your items was bad under the logic that they could just not do something that activates Clear Amulet.
This time, I did look before the series to see how often my items actually did something. 37 out of 45 times.
Okay. Um, that seems like a strange number that's influenced by how many Pokemon game to individual sets.
Yeah, most of the time I only brought 4.
I think, like, if you want to have an item that is entirely within your control as to whether the item meaningfully contributes to a set, then you're running an offensive item.
I agree. I did run Life Orb a bunch and, Power Herb a lot, Flame Orb.
Yeah, Psychic Seed was another item that I could proc on my own. But yeah, Specs, Choice Band, Coat Cloak. Obviously, I didn't use Skarmory, but every single other one of my items activated. The Psychic Seed didn't wind up being impactful, but if I just had a different Terra, it probably would have mattered. Like if I had a Terra that resisted Dark, I would have collected that earlier turn. And I think the main other Terra I was considering was Fire, which wouldn't have been amazing into Call,
It was
but it would have
impactful
made
in
me
that
take the Flamethrower.
Poltergeist could not be clicked into Executor.
Yeah, um, that's true. Yeah. So I mean, obviously that was a pretty active part, but I could also have run no item and achieve the same effect there.
True. Yeah.
It's been too long since I've been able to run no item to beat Poltergeist.
I brought it against Bramblegast against Dan.
Yeah. No item is good. I just haven't had the season for it. I haven't really run into any other poltergeists that I remember.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean I didn't run into it. Just means that I don't remember.
There weren't many ghosts.
What would you say was your main takeaway this season? Obviously, you had a pretty wide range of Pokemon, and I think you used most of them. Like, I think the only Pokemon that you didn't use in a conventional way was probably Veluza, and then basically everything else you used both conventionally and to some extent unconventionally.
Yeah, like for the most part, and I kind of want to go back and look at the moves that I actually clicked, because I already looked at Executor. I've literally only clicked Dragon and Grass moves. I brought coverage, but I didn't click the coverage.
Presumably Calm Mind and Trick Room. I was surprised you didn't bring a fire move for Scarm in this set.
Yeah, I was just relying on um,
Everything else,
either
which is fair
the
enough.
Electric Terrablast or the Flamethrower from Colossal.
Yeah,
Um,
or Wisp, right?
yes,
Wisp
Wisp.
is very good in the Scarm.
So takeaways on my team. Everything's really bulky, or I have Intimidate. On Team Preview, I do have an advantage where if you see like for Alligator Coal or Tauros Coal, you don't know whether I'm running Trick Room, Slow Coal, or Fast Surf Coal.
Have you ever run both? Because you can just run
Yes,
both.
yes.
Like against my team,
The first few weeks
it
I
was fine.
ran like 60 speed Coal or something with Steam Engine.
Yeah,
Um,
Steam Engine is just such a significant boost.
It is, but also like abilities that take away any weakness is super busted in a Terra format. Like Terrabug Colossal is great because you can really only hit it with Skarmory on this team really hard, or a Choice Band Skuntank, I guess.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, my team, I loved it. Trick Room, do a lot of damage in
Like
Trick
my
Room.
own child. Okay, so the Pokemon that you used the least were Veluza and Noctowl. I think you really underused Veluza compared to this was also the only time Croagin will ever hit the field.
Yes.
Or did it? I don't think it did in other playoffs games.
Nope.
Yeah, only time
I
Croagin will ever
brought
hit the
it.
field, which is very funny.
I brought it week 1 and 2, and then never again. But it didn't play week 1 or 2 because that was just the Trick Room sweep both games.
Yeah, like I feel like Veluza. So I mean, if you just looked at the Veluza's thing where it came to 2 games, it got 2 kills and died twice. Like that's normally pretty good, but Like I don't think you ever ran like an offensive Veluza. I think were both of those sets Final Gambit?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, Final Gambit's fine, but I feel like Veluza is a pretty potent offensive tool. I feel like it can sort of it's like a pseudo fake out in the sense of if they aren't disrupting the Veluza, like if they're spending their energy to disrupt Dusknoir, you're often getting a KO and then setting Trick Room up anyways.
Yeah.
So that they sort of have to commit damage to the Veluza there. But I recognize that you've often been concerned about the fact that it has to make trades.
Yeah.
And you just also have Hariyama, who's ridiculously good, and Dusknoir and Eggy. I
Yeah.
just saw Eggy was 12 points. That's insane.
Yeah, that was good. And I also
I was
got
bad
like
at tiering
fourth,
this season, you know?
which is weird because we had a lot of discussion on tiering this season, more than we normally do.
Yeah, well, we did move Barrascuda down to 9 points. I did say I thought it was undraftable at 10, and then voted that we move it to 9. And then at 9, I thought it was draftable. And then it came to a couple games and it was fine. I mean, my team very rarely lived or died based on the fact that it had bad type matchups defensively. It was more about whether it had good type matchups offensively. I've been very annoyed that I have 3 poison types and there's not been a single team that hasn't had like a goddamn rock type for no reason that I've been able to run poison boosts against. Like, come on, man. Does Colossal like does rock really need to resist poison? I feel like there needs to be less poison resist types, and I feel like Ghost and Ground are the ones that make thematic sense for why they resist it. But then Rock and Ground are both sort of the same resist there. Could
Yeah.
make Ground less. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I would say
But
ground kind of makes more sense as a to take away the resist. You can't poison a rock.
like you can poison soil.
That's true. Yeah, ground.
You can poison a rock. That's called radiation.
True.
But yeah, like I was pretty sad about not being able to bring a poison spam team to any of the weeks. Closest I got was clicking acid spray in finals.
The,
Also, I found it really funny that we got this game around so quickly. That both of the games are going to be in the same set after. But I think both of us had quite late regular finals games for the actual finals.
yeah, I played Monday night, and you
I
played.
don't remember when I played.
It was like
And
my
it
Wednesday
was not
morning.
when we were first. I think we first scheduled for Friday, and then for Sunday, and then it wound up being in the middle of the week.
Time zones.
Yeah, time zones and just generally existing as adult human beings. Unfortunately,
True. Yes.
of course, you don't know what it is right now to exist as your own self because I think your child is very young, right?
Oh, she's getting better. She's just today, 6-month birthday. This
Oh,
today.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Big congrats. So
Thank
yes,
you.
you're getting more to be able to be your own autonomous self. Then.
Yes. Speaking of that, I must get going.
All right.
To be
Thank
with my
you
child.
for hanging out.
Yeah, and
Much
congrats
love to you.
on the
Much
season.
love to your daughter.
Thank you.
And look, I'm glad to have finally won a VGC draft league season after having won basically every other type of draft league. Having not won VGC when that was like my second most played after regular draft league, like singles draft league, was pretty frustrating. But I can finally check that off. And of course, you have your brought back your VBL win streak after
15 seasons.
let's just say a brief interregnum.
Season 1, Season 15. It took a while, but we got here. All it took was Tay leaving.
I mean, Tay left in other seasons that you didn't win,
I know.
but you know,
I'm just kidding.
we'll pretend that's true. Take care.
Adios.